Welcome everyone, I'm Noah Zerby and this is Political Science 240, Introduction to International Relations. In this video, we're going to begin by asking how we see the world around us. Let's get started. Before we get there though, let me very briefly introduce the topic of international relations, or IR. When I meet my class for the first day of face-to-face activities, I usually like to have a brainstorming activity in which we think about all the ways in which our lives have been affected by international relations or global politics. In doing so, we usually start to see themes emerge that we'll deal with throughout the course, and we start to get a sense of my goals for the course. Students will usually throw things out like migration and international travel, consumption and production, trade, and even conflict and more. Eventually, we have a laundry list of items from iPhones and conflict resources to family histories and culture and identity. All are themes we return to later in the course. More broadly, we arrive at a point where we can think of international relations as looking at interactions between states, organizations, and people at the global level across three primary areas: politics, law, and economics. If we think of IR in this way, a number of important and interesting questions begin to emerge. Why, for example, do states go to war with one another? Why do states trade and cooperate? How do international organizations manage anarchy? How do people affect change at the global level? And what is a just international system? And of course, this is just a sample of questions. Countless others are also possible. So what's my goal for this course? I have two. First, we need to develop an understanding of the basic concepts and theories of international relations. This foundational knowledge will serve as the basis for further coursework should you decide to pursue this, and other courses in international studies, international relations, or related fields. But secondly, and more importantly, I want this course to be relevant. I want you to be able to read the international news, understand what's going on in the world, and be able to explain and analyze it. That's why we start most of our class sessions together with a recap of events of the day. And to that end, I expect you to stay abreast of current events in global politics. The Mercator projection map was developed by a Flemish geographer in 1569. It was designed to aid in maritime navigation and was the most commonly used world map throughout most of the 19th and 20th centuries. But it had its limits. Remember that it's impossible to present a globe, a round Earth, on a flat surface, so trade-offs have to be made. The Mercator projection is well suited for navigation and indeed is still sometimes used for that purpose. But while the map preserves shapes of continents and angles between objects, it does so at the cost of distorting items as we move closer to the poles. Thus, on the Mercator projection, Greenland appears to be larger than all of Africa, when in reality Greenland is about the same size as Algeria, and Africa is about 14 times the size of Greenland. Similarly, Greenland appears to be about 3 times larger than Australia, yet the opposite is true. And Europe appears to be about the same size as Africa on the projection, while in reality, Africa is more than 3 times as large as Europe. Other projections are also available. While Mercator remained the most common throughout the 20th century, the Gall-Peters projection was created by James Gall in 1855 and popularized by Arno Peters in the early 1970s. It was promoted by UNESCO and has been widely used in British schools. Massachusetts became the first state to adopt this map in its school system in March of 2017. The Gall-Peters projection maintains the correct land size area for the continents. Thus, the relative sizes of land masses are correct and can be compared to one another, but it does so at the cost of distorting the shapes and the distances between various points on the map. Other projections also exist. The oval projection map has been used for hundreds of years and attempts to create a balance between representing shapes, distances, and relative sizes. But while these maps convey information, they also convey ideology and embody priorities, assumptions, and choices about what we represent in the maps we use. Why, for example, is North always up and Europe usually centered when looking at world maps? The Earth is a globe, so why is this any more valid or appropriate than this, or this? The takeaway is that we need to challenge our assumptions and think critically about how we see the world, and that's precisely what we'll aim to do in this class. Of course, if we step back, we also get a different picture. Global problems somehow seem less large and I think somehow feel a bit smaller or more manageable when the Earth is viewed from space. This photo was taken by Apollo 11 astronauts and shows us the Earth rising over the lunar horizon. What does this image tell us about global politics? I think there are a number of possible questions it prompts us to consider. The first one that comes up for me is always, where are the boundaries, where are the states, and are they even relevant? Writing on his feelings viewing Earth from the International Space Station in 2008, astronaut Ron Garan wrote, "As I approached the top of this arc, it was as if time stood still, and I was flooded with emotion and awareness. But as I looked down at the Earth, this stunning, fragile oasis, this island that has been given to us, and that has protected all life from the harshness of space, a sadness came over me, and I was hit in the gut with an undeniable and sobering contradiction. In spite of the overwhelming beauty of this scene, serious inequity exists on this apparent paradise we have been given. And I couldn't help thinking of the nearly 1 billion people who don't have clean water to drink, the countless number who go to bed hungry every night, the social injustice, conflicts, and poverty that remain pervasive across the planet. Seeing Earth from this vantage point gave me a unique perspective, something I've come to call the orbital perspective. Part of this realization is that we're all traveling together on the planet, and that if we all looked at the world from that perspective, we would see that nothing is impossible. Or maybe we think about why we were on the moon in the first place. Remember that American efforts to reach the moon were very much an outgrowth of Cold War tension and international rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. We went to the moon, at least in part, as an effort to demonstrate the superiority of American capitalism over Soviet communism. Or maybe we ask how space is regulated today. Is it the common heritage of humanity, or does it belong to a country that explores it? And for that matter, what role do private corporations like SpaceX play? What about the United Nations? The important takeaway is that international relations is everywhere, and that we should be cautious in thinking about both the assumptions we bring with us and be open-minded regarding the questions we ask. That's it for now. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.